So, good morning, everyone. In our last class, we have discussed about how to design filters by the placement of poles and zeros in the S-plane. Okay. Then we discussed how the positioning of the poles and the zeros they affect the amplitude response, and also how they uh, affect the phase response of a given filter. Okay. Then we also discussed about how the placement of the poles it affects the amplitude response and the phase response. Consequently, we discussed about the rubber membrane concept. Okay, and from here we discussed about that if we are given with some positions of the poles and the zeros, so how we can qualitatively determine the nature of the filter. Okay, then we have discussed how we can develop low pass filter, high pass filter, band pass filter, band reject filter or band stop filter, and notch filter by the placement of poles and the zeros. Okay, so we further discussed that if we have a low pass filter and a high pass filter, how we can develop the band pass filter and the band reject filter, and what are the different what do you call criteria for the low pass filter and the band pass filter for developing this band pass filter and the band reject filter. Okay, so before proceeding to the next slides, what I would like to tell you is that suppose if you are given with a complex number a plus jb, so remember if it is a plus jb and if it is a minus of jb, we would write it as a plus of j of minus b. Okay, then in the different quadrants, what are the phase? So tan inverse of b by a. Then if we are having say A positive, B positive in this quadrant. Over here, A is negative and B is positive. So the calculation of the phase would be carried out using this formula tan inverse of B by A plus pi. Then in the third quadrant, it will be tan inverse of B by A minus pi. Here, both A and B would be negative. Okay. And lastly, in the fourth quadrant, it would be tan inverse of B by A. So if you see in these quadrants, it is tan inverse of b by a, and on the left hand side, second quadrant, it is tan inverse of b by a plus pi, and in the third quadrant, it is tan inverse of b by a minus pi. So please keep this in mind because many students they do mistake over here, and if they are on the positive real axis or positive imaginary axis, these are the values what you would be getting. Positive real axis a plus 0 I, the phase would be 0. Positive imaginary axis 0 plus bi, it would be pi by 2. Then negative real axis minus of a, it would be minus of pi. Yes. And lastly negative imaginary axis minus of bi, it would be minus of pi by 2. Okay, now before proceeding to the filter designing aspects, I would again like to start with this the relationship between the S plane and the Z plane. Okay, so over here if you see, this is a this is the S plane. Okay, and when we, so this is the S plane, and uh, over here we have the x-axis, which is the real component, and y-axis it is the imaginary component. And in the imaginary component we have the frequency axis, analog frequency axis, which is given by omega. Okay, now in the z plane, in the real axis we have uh, real z, and the imaginary axis we have the imaginary z, and then we have a unit circle whose radius is equal to 1, right? and then this unit circle, it is basically the frequency axis, okay, and this frequency, it is given by the digital frequency omega, okay. So it is omega. So on this unit circle we have the digital frequency. Now this digital frequency, it starts with 0 degree and it ends at 360 degree. In our previous classes we have also discussed that the 0 degree or the 360 degree, it has the sampling frequency which is given by fs greater than equal to 2 of fm, which is nothing but your Nyquist rate, okay. So at the limiting condition we will be having 180 degree, and in all the textbooks you will find that this point it is given as fm, because whenever you design a filter, ideally this fm is the maximum frequency which can be legally processed through the digital systems, okay. So another important thing, this frequency, it varies from 0 to 2 pi, 0 to 2 pi. However, the frequency which we are interested in, it varies in the range of 0 to pi, okay. Now we have also discussed previously that the left hand side of the plane, it gets mapped into the within the unit circle of the z plane, okay. So left hand side of the s plane gets mapped into the uh, unit circle of the z plane. Similarly, the right hand side of the s plane, it maps outside the unit circle, whereas when sigma is equal to 0, we have this unit circle, and in this unit circle, it is basically the frequency axis, okay. So these are some of the important things. Now there are some aspects. In our previous class we have also discussed that if we work in the lower limit, that is a lower limit of the Nyquist rate, that is when fs is equal to 2 of fm, then we will have the fm component of the signal at pi, okay. So let us take this example with the diagram. Okay. So since the frequency component repeats itself, so we will be having this 0 to fm as your digital frequency, and it will be replicating it or mirroring itself on the negative frequency domain also, and again there will be this repeating of this frequency component, okay. Now if you see at this limiting condition, what we are having, the high frequency component, of the signal, they are in conjunction with the low frequency component when we are repeating the signal. Why this is happening? If you see, we are having 0 to to pi. Okay, so 0 to pi, 0 to FM we are having. Then the signal components they are repeating because we have digitized it in the time domain. The signal gets repeating in the frequency domain. So from here again, the low frequency component it starts. So if you see, the high frequency component is here, and at the same time the low frequency components would be somewhere over here. The thing it happens over here. Now what happens is that when we talk about this digitized signal and all this thing, so we need an analog to digital converter. Okay, however, the components which are used to develop this analog to digital converter, they may be low cost components, and in those low cost analog to digital converters there would be spectral leakage. Now what happens in the spectral leakage? It is technically similar to the aliasing. So when aliasing happens, when we are not limiting the FM, okay, so in that case what would happen over here is that there would be mixing of this frequency component over here. Okay, now it is not because, so I am introducing two words. The first one is the aliasing, and the second one is spectral leakage. The result of both of these, they are same. So in aliasing also you will find that there would be mixing of the low frequency component with the high frequency component. In the spectral leakage also you will be finding the same thing. However, technically they are different. Technically why they are different? Aliasing is happening if you are not limiting the, or you are not defining the FM. How would you define it? You would define it by using the anti-aliasing filter. On the contrary, spectral leakage is a condition where you have taken all the precaution. However, due to the non-idealness of the components which are used to design the analog to digital converter, there would be some what you call deviations in that regards, and due to those deviations there will be induction of the this mixing up of the low frequency component with the high frequency component. Okay, so it is there like this. Now over here also it would be like this. So there is mixing of the low frequency component and the high frequency component, and when this happens, then your signals, while you are digitizing it, it gets corrupted. And we have already discussed previously that if your signal while digitizing it gets corrupted, then whatever the analysis you would be doing, all of them would be a what you call, they will not give you good results. The analysis would be wrong, because aliasing means you are having something some information content, but that information content is being distorted. Okay, and how, why it is distorted? This is being distorted because you are having this low frequency component mixed up with the high frequency component of the signals. Okay, so that is not an ideal condition. So many a times you would find especially if you are using low cost ADCs, low cost analog to digital converter, what you need to do, we need to increase the FS by a factor of 10 FM or more, 10 of FM. Okay, so our what is the ideally what should be your FS? Ideally the FS should be 2 of FM, but practically we have also seen in our lab that we have to keep FS sufficiently high so as to recreate the signal in the digital domain in a proper manner. Okay, in that condition, what is happening over here? 10 of, we are keeping FS of 10 of FM. Okay, now this is quite interesting. Say for example, in our ECG signal, we have frequency component which varies from 0.5 to 100 hertz. In many of the books you may find they are writing as 120 hertz. In some of the books they are writing as 150 hertz. Okay, all are correct depending upon what kind of information you want to gather from the ECG signal. Okay, so in most of the clinical ECG machines, you will find that the signals are band limited to 100 hertz signal, 0.5 to 100 hertz signal. So what is happening over here now? Now, if you look over here in the 100 hertz, what is the sampling frequency? Ideally it is 200 hertz. This is the minimum level. Okay, so minimally you need to sample the signal at 200 hertz. Okay, so if we go over here, in this Z plane, so where we would be having the 200 hertz, at this FS we would be having the 200 hertz, right? And where we would be having the 100 hertz, 100 hertz would be at this location at pi. Okay, however, as I told you that if we are using low cost analog to digital converters or something like this, then it would become it is quite possible that under this limiting condition of Fs equals to 200 hertz, when we consider that the ECG signals have been band limited to 100 hertz, in that case what would happen? There may be spectral leakage. There may be spectral leakage which would corrupt the signal. So now, what is the alternative way? Alternative way is that I already told you that if we sample the signal at 10 of FM, okay, so 10 of FM, what is the FM? 100 hertz. What is the 10 of FM? 10 of FM is 1 kilohertz. Okay, now when I am talking about this 1 kilohertz, so what is happening? So at 360 degree we are having 1 kilohertz. So 1 degree we would be having 1000 by 360 hertz, or in other terms we can say for 100 hertz we would be having 360 degree divided by 100 multiplied by 100 hertz, which is the FM. This is FM, this is FS. Okay, so so excuse me. So if you see from here, if you want to find out the location of a particular frequency, say x hertz onto the unit circle where it will be placed, it would be given by Fm by Fs multiplied by 360 degree. Okay. So in our case, it is, see, we want to look into the x hertz, not Fm. This is it is the test frequency. X by Fs multiplied by 360 degree. Okay. Now in our case, our test frequency is 100 hertz, right? Now from here, if you solve this, we get 36 degree. Okay. Now look into this Z plane again. Now look into this Z plane again. Okay. Now what is happening? Yeah. So 36 degree is somewhere over here. Now, if we are sampling the signal at 1000 hertz, our 100 hertz is appearing at a much more lower angle. Okay, at a very within this very small area. Okay, so this is called frequency compression. This is called frequency compression. Right? Now what is happening over here? Basically, if you see, we are having Fs, we are having Fm, we are having minus of Fm, and if you extend it, we would be having minus of Fs. Now if you look carefully, now our Fm, it will not be at this location, which is the pi. So this would be pi, this we can ask as put it as minus of pi. Okay. Now if you see, there are certain unoccupied frequencies in the positive domain. If you see, our maximum frequency was 100 hertz. Okay, our maximum frequency was 100 hertz. Okay, now if you look, all this frequency, they will remain unutilized if we sample the signal at 1000 hertz. Okay, and this phenomena where we are clubbing all the frequencies together within a small area, it is called frequency compression. Okay, by performing this frequency compression, what we are achieving? We are achieving that, first one, we are preventing the aliasing, and second thing, even if there is some spectral leakage, there would not be any mixing up of the spectrums. Okay, and this zone is called as the dead zone. This zone, it is called as the dead zone. Okay, that means there will be no spectral related activity within this frequency zone. Okay, but we have achieved a very good thing over here. We have been able to prevent the spectral leakage, but there is a problem. Can you say what is the problem? The problem is, suppose I am teaching you and I want to take a class test in the physical mode, and in the class there are only 30 benches. Okay. Now if you are just 30 students, you will be able to give the exam comfortably. Now if I say no, I would take another test at the same time at the same location, and there will be another 30 students. So in a particular 30 in a particular bench, I will be putting another 30 students. Okay. Now what will happen? You will be getting more jumbled up, right? You will be feeling that your comfortable space is being compromised. Now again, if I further increased the student strength by another 30 students, it will be getting too much uncomfortable for you guys, right? The same thing over here, if I am compressing the signal within this small region, so I am clearing this slide. So suppose over here we are having this 36 degree, say for example, it is looking like 45 degree, but just consider it as 36 degree. So under this region, suppose I have to design a notch filter. So what would happen? Notch filter, say for the power line interference of 50 hertz. So it would be 100 by 1000 multiplied by 50 hertz. Okay. So at 5 degree you have to put. So 5 degree would be somewhere over here. But the rate of change of frequency in this region would be quite high if we are having Fs equals to 1000 hertz. Okay, because all the frequencies, they are getting clustered within a smaller region, because at this 36 degree you are having your FM. Now think of the condition when we are having the full region. That means I was talking of, say, sorry, I did a mistake over here, sorry. Hundred hertz, na? Sorry. So it would be the 50 hertz and then 360 degree. Yeah. So like this, this. 3.6, 18 hertz. Okay. So this would be 18 hertz, 18 degree. Okay. So at 18 degree, we will be having the, we will be placing the 0 for designing the notch filter. Now, if we had the same thing, if we are having if you are having a sampling frequency of 200 hertz, so this would be okay. So we will be having the thing at the 90 degrees. So if you see, we would have been able to put this what do you call put the zero at 90 degree. So all the frequency component, see, they are being spreaded out to a longer region. Okay, so when you go for the frequency compression, by increasing the sampling rate, you are basically making your life difficult to place the poles and the zeros. Okay, because you will be having a very small area to work with. Okay, on the contrary, if you are working at a low sampling frequency, and if you are using this thing, and if you are using what you call low cost analog to digital converters, where the components are the components which are being which have been used, they are say they are of not high quality, then you may get the spectral leakage, even though if you have taken all the precautions for the for this for preventing the aliasing. Okay, so this is one of the major problem if you want to increase the sampling frequency, right? So am I clear up to this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Now, another important aspect which we have already discussed previously, when we are transforming the signal from the Laplace domain to the Z plane, there is many to one mapping. In Laplace domain, we have frequencies which varies from minus infinity to infinity, whereas in Z domain, we start with 0 hertz and we come to fs hertz. Okay, but over here if you see, we are having minus infinity to infinity. So let us take the 0 to infinity case, and it will be repeating in the negative half also. So 0 to fs, and again the signal will be starting to repeat itself on this unit circle. Okay, till we get to the infinity hertz. The same happens to the 0 to minus infinity hertz. So that means you will be moving in the clockwise direction when you are going for 0 to minus infinity, and after after a pi you will be again getting to 0, and again it will be repeating. So if you see, many of the analog frequencies many of the analog frequencies are being marked into one point of the frequency domain in the Z plane. So this is called many to one mapping. Okay. Now, while we were discussing this S plane, we talked about certain criteria for the designing of the systems. First of all, we said the number of poles should be greater than the number of zeros. Poles, it should be on the left hand side of the S plane. Zeros, it can be placed anywhere on the S plane. While we are discussing about the digital systems, which we designed with the help of the Z plane, the number of poles should be greater than zeros. It remains as it is. In the digital system also, you have to keep in mind that the number of poles should be greater than the number of zeros. Second point, poles should be on the left hand side of the S plane. If we remember correctly, that the left hand side of the S plane, it maps within the unit circle in the Z plane. Okay. So this second clause, it becomes inside the unit circle. Okay. And lastly, we have zeros which can be placed anywhere. There is no change over here. In the digital systems also, we can put the zeros anywhere on the Z plane. Okay. I will be coming to this slide a bit later. Now let us first discuss about this figure. So in this figure, if you see, few days back, even in our last class, we have discussed about this representation of the vectors to a particular point. So the first point is something like this. Now the second, this B figure, it is nothing but your, excuse me, it is your what we are doing over here, we are placing the poles and the zeros in the Z axis, in the Z axis. Are you getting my point? So we are putting the poles and the zeros on the not the Z axis, Z plane, sorry, on the Z plane. Okay. So we are putting these poles and the zeros on the Z plane. Now, what is the frequency axis? Just now I told you that the frequency axis is the unit circle. So in our previous case, what we were looking, if a pole is being placed, what is the distance? What is the distance of the pole or the zero from the frequency axis? So what should be the point over here? The point is on the unit circle. If you see, we have put this point at e to the power j omega t. Now, instead of looking into this imaginary axis in the z plane, in the s plane, in the z plane we will be looking into the distance of the poles and the zeros to the frequency point on the unit circle, which is basically our frequency axis. Okay. Now, similar to the previous case, if you see, herein we are dealing with the z transform, so our transfer function, it would be hz. Again, just like hs, which was a polynomial and was given by, say, ps by qs, which were again polynomials. Herein also, in the digital domain, the transfer function, it is given by h of z. Okay. Herein s is a complex parameter. Here z is the complex parameter. Okay. Now we are just replacing the s, what we have discussed in our s plane lecture, with z over here. So Bn, it is nothing but the gain of the system, frequency independent gain. Bn is nothing but the frequency independent gain. And then we have this parameters z minus z1, z minus z2, Z minus Zn, where Z1 is the location of the 0 1, Z2 is the location of the 0 2, and so on. Okay. Similarly, we are having gamma 1, gamma 2 up to gamma n. So the roots of the Pz, if we call this as Pz, if we find out the roots, they are called the zeros of the systems. And if we call this lower polynomial as Q or Qz, they are called the poles of the system. Okay. Now again, if we change the coordinate system, so we get r1 into e to the power j phi 1 and so on. And if we break it down, if you see, there is nothing but r1, r2, rn divided by d1, d2, dn, then e to the power j phi 1 plus phi 2 plus 2 phi n minus theta 1 plus theta 2 plus theta n up to this thing. Now, if we compare the output from here, the amplitude response, it is given by Bn multiplied by product of the distance of zeros to e to the power j omega t divided by product of the distance of the poles to e to the power j omega t. In S-planes, it was the same, but it was on the imaginary axis. Okay. Similarly, the phase of this system can be given by sum of zero angles to e to the power j omega t minus sum of zero angles to e to the power sum of pole angles to e to the power j omega t. So zero angles minus pole angles, where we have the addition of the zero angles minus the addition of the pole angles. So if you see all the parameters what we discussed in the previous case during the analysis of during the development of this analog filters in the S-plane, it remains the same. B product of the distance of zeros to the point P divided by product of the distance of poles to point P, and phase was given by sum of zero angles to P minus sum of pole angles to P. Here only the point where we are analyzing the system, it changes. In the previous case, it was the imaginary axis which was a function of the frequency. We are looking over there, and in this case it is e to the power j omega t. Okay. Now how do you find out the phases? Again the same way, you draw a parallel line to the x-axis and then you find out the angles. Okay. Now if you see over here, this angle. So parallel to x-axis, we draw the line. From there, you find out the angle. So this would give you the phase response of the system. So I'm not starting the next topic since we are only left with 5 minutes. So if you have any question, so we'll be discussing this one in the next lecture. And also in the next lecture, please keep your calculators ready because you need to do some calculations.